Good morning from the Hot Takes headquarters. I'm your host, Dylan, and welcome back to the show. Today we have a very special edition of Hot Takes for you. Buckle up for a blast of the past to take a look at the 2004 hit, Mean Girls. The Mean Girls movie has quickly made its mark on teens and young adults across the globe. From catchy phrases like "That's why his hair's so big," "It's full of secrets," to "One on Wednesdays we wear pink." This movie became an everlasting, iconic early 2000s film. On today's episode, we're going to take a deep dive into the world of the plastics and talk about some of the controversy. Now, I'd like to introduce our very special guest of the day who is allowed to sit with us.
Thank you for having me on the show, Dylan. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, we're excited to have you.
Before we get into,
Before we get into the deep dive of our movie today, tell the viewers a little bit about yourself.
as you've mentioned, I'm Diego Mendoza. I'm a student at Kane University. I'm a senior
Yeah.
here now, and I'm pursuing a degree in communications, film, and media.
Thank you, Diego. Are you involved with any clubs at the university? If so, tell us a little bit about what you do.
Yeah, I am a member of Kane TV. The club focuses on creating and producing short films and miniseries. We all have the creative freedom to help out with any part of the show-making process. I started out with filming and figured out that I have a knack for writing and creating films.
Yeah, it's awesome. It seems like you already have an interest in films, which makes you a great fit for a show today. What are your thoughts on the movie Mean Girls?
Well, that was one of my favorite movies growing up. Although I will say it gave me the wrong idea of what high school would be like. Since the plastics were so prevalent in the movie, highlighting the way they ruled the school, I thought that would happen at my school too. I went to high school and find out that there were cliques, but they weren't just ruling as they seemed.
Yeah, as a Mean Girls lover myself, I do have to agree with you on that. There was quite a few parts of the movie that were definitely dramatized for the sake of the film.
And
Let's
well,
make-
regardless of the perception of high school that the movie portrays, it still was one of the best movies to come out of the Hollywood, production in the 2000s.
yeah, yeah, for sure. Let the host do the hosting. You're taking the words right out of my mouth. Yeah.
All right. Enough of my spotlight. Back to you then, Dylan.
Yeah. So thank you. For those of you who just tuned in who don't know the ins and outs of Mean Girls as well as we do, let's break it down for you. Mean Girls is a teenage movie about a girl who's new to public school. Katie Heron, who goes from girl to queen bee. She finds herself stuck between two worlds, the plastics and the outcasts. Katie makes big waves in her school social hierarchy as she takes down the reigning queen bee, Regina George.
Great synopsis, Dylan. I think it's also important to highlight the
Yep.
downfall of Katie in the end of the movie.
Yeah, you're right. Katie has tried so hard to take down Regina George that she simultaneously destroyed her reputation and lost all of her friends,
I,
I guess.
I feel like the writers kind of designed the plot to make you love Regina George and hate Katie Heron towards the end of it.
Yeah, the first time I watched it, I didn't really exactly see the part of the plot.
Really, that was kind of obvious. It seemed like the whole movie was centered around the ups and downs of social hierarchy in high school.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. Watching it again and again became crystal clear. uh, you know, um, but the first time, I watched it, I barely was 15. Can you blame me?
No, I get that. I think there are definitely values, jokes, messages that aren't clear to the younger end of the movie's audience. I remember finding out years after the movie aired that the real reason Regina thought that Janice was a lesbian was that she misheard Lebanese for lesbian. I know that was lost on not only me, but everyone else who watched that movie was around my age too.
Yeah, so I feel comforted knowing that this is a huge subplot of the movie, which is not only lost to me. You know, I think I found out about 3 or 4 years after the movie, and I was so shocked. Growing up, I never questioned, the reasons Regina felt the way she did. But once I found that out, everything clicked.
Yeah, I didn't make that connection either. I don't think anyone watching cared to pick up on the reason behind the lesbian comment.
Yeah. I wonder how many times smaller pieces I missed during the movie.
I think that was like the biggest one. Even if there's something else, no one else seems to talk about it. So you're good.
No, yeah, I feel like there's more to Janice Ian than we realize.
Like what? She was the typical angry teen outcasted by her peers.
Yeah, isn't it even a bit odd that she, Damien and Katie has gone far, to ruin her life, to ruin Regina's life?
Well, yeah, but that was all for the sake of revenge.
I've been thinking about, the whole situation for a while, and, there's something just off. And that's where I kind of got the idea that we, today's hot takes.
Enough of the dramatics. I need to know. The viewers need to know.
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah. Fine. I'll spill the beans. Today's hot take is, drum roll, please. The Janice Ian was a terrible friend to Katie Heron.
That was definitely worth the wait. I'm curious to hear why you think about that. I feel like that wasn't really the case when I think about it, but we'll see if you have enough evidence to change my mind.
You have you don't really have an idea what the tricks I have up my sleeve for this episode. Diego.
Oh, I can't wait to get into it.
Yeah. So sit tight. We're gonna take a short break to hear some very important messages. Grab a snack and settle in. When we get back, we're going to take a deeper dive on the movie and get you into our hot takes. We hope you're all ready.
Hey, class starts in 5 minutes. You coming?
Yeah, I'll catch up.
You still here?
Oh yeah, I'm coming to class.
Where are you going? Class ended.
Oh.
If you're so glued to your phone, why don't you minor in social media?
Oh. Okay.
On a daily basis, we're met with many inconveniences, such as road work, traffic, or poorly written laws and regulations.
Well, the solution is you. Yes, you. By visiting the website www.nj.gov/elections, you can find out information regarding the local politicians running in your area. It's up to us as a community to discuss the changes we would like to see happen by voting in our local election November 6th.
So welcome back for those of you who just tuned in on today's episode of Hot Takes. We're going to be taking the talk about Mean Girls. Diego and I are about to get into our hot takes on Mean Girls. That Janice Ian was actually a horrible friend to Carly Heron. Let's take back to the beginning of the plot. Katie started her first day of public school at 16. The last 12 years of her life, she's been living in Africa, learning about behaving in a completely different way than people do in American public schools. So therefore, when Katie went to school, she had no understanding of not only the social values of hierarchical, typical high schoolers, but she also didn't understand how teenagers went about expressing themselves.
Yeah, that's abundantly clear at the beginning of the movie when Janice draws a map of the cafeteria and Katie is so confused as she listens to the description of each click.
Yeah, exactly. So, what sets the viewers up to, to understand and sympathize with the fact that this is a 16-year-old, girl is being thrown to the woes of American high school. We know from the get-go that Katie is going to, need a bit of time to realize how things work in her new environment.
But how does that prove that Janice is a bad friend?
It doesn't. In order to tell a good story, the metaphorical stage needs to be set. These beginning interactions are meant to set the stage for the viewers that Katie can be taken advantage of. It can take advantage of easily since she doesn't understand her environment.
Okay, so the stage is set by the first 10 or 15 minutes is over. I still don't get how she can be a bad friend to Katie. I mean, Janice was the only person besides the plastics that wanted to take her in.
Yeah, so the audience knows that the action of the plastics aren't genuine. However, with Janice, the audience can see that she is more down to, the more down to earth character. There's a very clever level of deception happening with her. As the movie progresses and Katie becomes friends with the plastics, Janice realizes that she has the opportunity to get, close enough to Regina to hurt her reputation. Her way in was through Katie's friendship. She had Katie join her on the plan to strike back against Regina.
Okay, I'm seeing where you're going with this. I just don't understand how Janice is to blame when Katie, at her own free will, decided to join in on the scheme.
Yeah, so Katie was brand new to this kind of social interaction. Janice was clearly aware of that as we saw in their first interactions. She took advantage of that. She had an issue with Regina, not Katie, but she used Katie as her puppets to do her dirty work. Meanwhile, Katie was longing to have friends so badly that she did whatever it takes. So she did whatever people asked of her.
All that says to me is that Katie doesn't have her own sense of self, to say.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Of course, that's all you're seeing. You're right. Katie doesn't have a sense of self, but neither, do the other plastics. Most people in high school haven't, figured out that, who they are yet. I'm sure we all dealt with that at some point or another too.
I see what you mean.
Yeah.
I guess I never thought of the whole situation that way. Maybe because I've always felt bad for Janice.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. How can I not have seen that?
Yeah. It's all right. That's why we're talking about it here on Hot Takes. The whole point of the show is to have a controversial, discussion. I know that I'm not the only one to have sympathized with, Janice's character. So many teenagers, teen girls specifically, have stories. Especially when it comes to the peers that are lower on the totem pole popularity. They have a tendency to be picked up more often or so. How many Mean Girl fans related more to Janice than Regina or Caddy? Probably quite a few. So out of feeling emotionally connected to Janice, they likely overlooked the fact that Janice used, Katie. As someone who was never in a position like yours or Janice's growing up, I really didn't understand how hurt you feel when that happens.
Yeah, at that point in life, it feels like your whole world is just upside down.
Yeah, I can only imagine, since the movie was written to highlight more of the plastic end of things, Janice's plotline so easily overlooked?
Not to make the way she acted right, but at least you can see where she was coming from.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's all about being open-minded on this show. So, wow. So things got a little tense here. So far, we've not only had a great discussion, but great energy. Yeah. So let's take a quick commercial break. We'll see you soon.
On a daily basis, we're met with many inconveniences, such as road work, traffic, or poorly written laws and regulations.
Well, the solution is you. Yes, you. By visiting the website www.nj.gov/elections, you can find out information regarding the local politicians running in your area. It's up to us as a community to discuss the changes we would like to see happen by voting in our local election November 6th.
This pen isn't working again. I feel like I'm having a crisis.
Crisis?
I know I ordered hot coffee and not cold. No one ever listens to me.
Sounds like you have a crisis.
My pen isn't working. The internet in this place is absolutely horrible, so now my computer doesn't work. And to top it off, the coffee that I ordered that I said hot is cold because they gave me ice. Like, I need iced coffee in this weather. Like, honestly, this is ridiculous. I feel like I'm going through a crisis.
Crisis?
I'm gonna have to call you back.
Oh, hey, are you okay?
Have you seen a girl, like, this tall around?
No, should I have?
She's been following me around screaming crisis at me.
Oh, Casey? She's a public relations major. They're working on crisis management this week.
Public relations forms relationships between businesses and the public. A degree in public relations could lead to jobs like media planner, social media manager, marketing assistant, copywriter, and crisis manager.
She does realize that's not how crisis management works, right?
Nope. They didn't get to that part yet.
Great.
Welcome back. I hope the commercial break gave you a chance to get some snacks, get cozy, and think about hot takes of the day. What is your take on Janice Ian? Is she the villain?
I'm not sure if I'd say villain. I think that every character in anything is not just black and white. Superman is not always just a good guy, you know?
Yeah.
And I think Janice, as with all characters, qualities of both a villain and a hero. I mean, she's a hero as in the sense that she gave Katie like this family, like this group of friends, you know, that she was the first to open. She is a villain in the sense that she's motivated by revenge. But I think saying a villain or a hero is too black and white for my liking. But if you want a yes or no answer, then I'll say no. I'll say no because I think at such a young age, the mistakes you made are forgivable. And they're not for evil purposes. They're just kind of the things you do when you're young.
Yeah. That's good. In your opinion, how was the Mean Girls character, Damien, involved in Janice's plan? Was he also a bad friend?
I think that his character is very funny and interesting because he's kind of like her sidekick.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, Superman earlier. If
Yeah.
If Janice is Batman, then he's kind of Robin, and he is a great character. He's funny. He's he's quick-witted, and and he brings so much. But I think the fact that his character is almost based entirely around Janice, you can't really group him as an individual as being a bad friend, So I'll say that he was a good friend to Janice.
Okay. So I always saw Regina as an ill-intentioned villain. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it goes back to the point I was saying earlier that, like, they're so young, you know. We're talking before the show that I'm 21 and I feel old. Now imagine being 16 and you're the queen of the school. Like, you're gonna make bad decisions. I don't think she's a villain. Maybe in this story she is a little bit, but I think she's just a young person trying to find her way. And that's how I like to look at these characters. And, you know, you can make a case for any of the characters to be bad characters or bad people and villains and everything. Like,
Okay, that makes
like
sense.
Katie literally pushes Regina in front of a bus.
Yeah.
Like, it's a bit of a spoiler to those of you who haven't seen it. But that is something that happened. And you could say, well, that's what a super villain does to characters. That's physical harm. And Regina, well, she does this and then the other thing. And yes, she has bad intentions, but also she's young and she's selfish. And when you're young and you're selfish, I think you're allowed to be those things because you're going to grow and get older and learn and be better.
Okay. Yeah. So Regina had 2 minions as part of her plastic crew, Karen and Gretchen. How did they treat Katie, and do you think they were great friends?
I think they're so archetypal, all of
Okay.
them. Like how I said that Damien was kind of the sidekick to Janice, like they're her sidekick, right? That's the obvious foil in the story. And Gretchen and the other one, I'm bad with names.
Yeah. It's okay.
Like, I think they're great. Like, I love their characters. And it's like one of them's Amanda Seyfried, you know, and that's
Yeah.
like one of her first like big hits, and she's great in it. And I just think they're so funny. And I think they're good friends to like the people they're scared of. And at the beginning of the movie, they're scared of Regina. And so they're really good friends to her. They're like, oh, she's calling me, I have to be there. Oh, we can only wear pink,
Yeah.
this and that. But then they kind of grow this fear towards Katie, and so they become good friends to them. So I think that as these archetypal sidekicks, they are like, they just have to be good friends to whoever like
yeah.
their leader is. Because like, as they said, minions, you know,
Yeah,
like the
yeah.
minions love Gru, you know, and so they're really good friends to Gru. And so they're just looking for their Gru throughout the entirety of it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. So thank you, Diego, for coming out and joining us on our show today. I hope you enjoyed your time here at Hot Takes, and hopefully we were able to open your mind more about Mean Girls.
Of course, it was all good fun, even the arguments. Thank
Yeah.
you, Dylan, for having me on today.
Yeah. So of course. All right, folks. That's a wrap here at Hot Takes headquarters. Thank you for tuning in. We hope you gained some new insight on the world of Mean Girls. Mean Girls. Remember, it's not cool to use your brand new to public school best friend as a part of your ultimate revenge plot. We'll catch you
next time.